Welcome back to another amazing show of The True That Show. Thank you so much for tuning in again today. And I am super excited because I actually just had this epiphany last night. And we are going to be talking with a really, really cool woman who has an amazing accent. I love it. And she is going to tell us her story. And when you listen to her story, there's going to be what I call plot twists, that time where you think your life's going in one direction and whoop, it goes to another. And then you think it's going one direction and whoop, it goes to another. And somehow it ends up in the place that you never thought was possible. And so I love possibilities. So Caroline, I have to ask you first, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And just to put the record straight, when she's talking about someone with a beautiful accent, it's not me.
Perfect. Look at that. It could be to both of you. So
no, actually it's you that have an accent.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you have the English accent.
So I was talking about plot twists. That's called throwing the pot. Two totally different things. That if you hang out with us long enough, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So Caroline, this is the perfect question for you. Caroline, have you ever been going along in life?
Oh my goodness. No, I got up like when I was about 6, 7, planned my whole life, and I'm right where I thought I would be.
No, that's why you're my bestie, they call it, because I just follow your lead.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's get back to reality here. No, you know what? I didn't end up where I thought I would. I have studies that are kind of in line with what I'm doing, but that's because I studied business administration. So, I mean, there is business and administration in pretty much everything. And I majored in marketing, which, your whole life is about marketing. We learn it as babies, just trying to bribe our parents to give us something. And then I have a minor in psychology. Isn't that everywhere as well? So, but it's funny, I always grew up feeling a bit like I was at a loss or I was missing out on something, because I never had I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a lawyer. And my family is very much like that. They have positions with names, and you study that many years in and you get. So I always felt like, oh my goodness, I'm the black sheep. Obviously I'm lost, I don't know where I'm going, so I'm following through life. But that was really my path, and I ended up exactly where I need to be. But I mean, I did some jobs and I had some experiences that I would have never thought would cross my road. And I'm so happy I had them, because it's, if in hindsight, when I look at the last 25 years, it's always just getting better. So imagine where I'll be when I'm your age. It's going to be like amazing. But you, Deb, are you where you wanted to be at?
Well, if I was in Montreal right now, we'd either be having a shot of tequila on that one or something. But you know what? Whenever there's two things that popped up in my head when we were talking, and one is I had this flash. I think I was about grade 4 or grade 5, and it was the first time that I heard of what a stewardess does. Right? It was like, I don't know why, who would be talking to someone. How old are you? 12, 13, 14? Well, I guess, you know what? Most people left school and they were working. I had my first job around then. And so grade 4, I don't know, what are you, 10 years old or something? And I remember just being in awe. I'm like, a stewardess, like a waitress in a plane. Like, it was so almost, it was like salivating. I was like, wow, how cool would that be? And it seemed like I was watching the Jetsons. It seemed like it was so far gone. And so Caroline doesn't know what that cartoon is because she's so young.
I do because I have older siblings.
Right. But it was different for me. So I was raised in a home where you did school. We didn't have dots and letters behind our names, and you went to work. Like, I mean, you were working when you were, still in school, whatever that was. Your mom went to work and I did the dinner. And I was like single parented. So there was always a big push to go make money as soon as you can because the family needs money. And so being an entrepreneur, now that was really funky for my family. I pretty well was the first entrepreneur. They didn't quite know what to do about that.
Are we
But
keeping her or?
you know, so yeah, I mean, I think we come to that place where I know who I am, and that I've discovered that more and more and more, and I take that with me through each of my journey. But I definitely got to say life's had some plot twists. Absolutely. I think this is a classic one. I was raised in a single parent home. My dad left when I was very young. So I'm going to get married. I'm only going to get married once and it's going to be forever. I mean, I had that picket fence, situation. I was, married for almost 20 years and I obviously never had a picket. Well, actually we did have a picket fence, but things change. And so the plot twist in life, but I definitely don't regret where I am. I definitely don't regret where I am. It's been
No,
definitely.
I imagine the picket fence where you would leave your husband at night, So she's like, yeah, we had a picket fence.
We had a picket fence. He kept the fence.
You know
I
what?
kept the.
Now that I'm thinking about, I had a very big aspiration when I was young, and probably the reason why I'm forgetting is that I achieved it when I was 19. But my biggest aspiration was to be a receptionist in a doctor's office. All through when I was growing up, I had files. I had patients. They all had a story. They all like from 6 till 10, I think I attended to those patients. So that's what I wanted to be, a receptionist. And then I was at 19. And after a year, I just realized I'm really not detail oriented enough for that position. And it's not me. And yes, I did send the wrong patients in the wrong rooms at some point. So I had to move on.
Well, you know what? Let's move on from this conversation, Shelly, because I think that what we're talking about here is that you need to be flexible, you need to be pliable. And sometimes, I mean, I think there's a little piece of who we are. And the big news is that it's okay to completely change your picture based on what's going on for you. I was saying last night, and I'll talk about it later, but sometimes there's a saying, it's like, you have your agenda and the universe has their agenda. And no matter sometimes how hard you push your agenda, the universe tends to win. So I want to bring Shelly into the conversation because I love how she shared about one of my favorite things, and I'll just leave it the topic of art, and then how she weaved through her life to get to where she is today, and an up and coming author in a #1 book. So Shelly, why don't you come into the conversation and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much. And I have to say, I totally enjoyed your conversation that you just had. I learned a bunch from y'all. So thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to be on this podcast with you this morning and just to share a little bit about my story. So I do have kind of a funny accent because I grew up in Wisconsin. But I've lived in Georgia for the last 25 years with a very Southern, my husband grew up, born and raised Georgia, so he's got a thick Southern accent. And then my children also have Southern accents. So I've kind of got a combined, my languages combined. So,
Oh, it looks like we've had a little bit of a break. We've had some technical difficulties. So I'm sure she'll come back in.
Yes. And in the meantime, I just want to say I love her accent. And that was me just trying to mimic, but I can't. I can't even pretend to be Southern because I'm too French. But now there's some people sometimes that are like, oh, you have a cute accent. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I could get rid of that accent. And no, it's beautiful. And Shelly is back.
I'm back. Right. I'm sorry about that.
No, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And we got to hear Caroline share. That was good.
Right. Well, so what I was saying is, I grew up, art was my thing growing up. I loved, that was kind of how I identified.
Oh, we're definitely having some technical difficulties here today. So, yep, she's going to come back and tell us how she was in love with art.
Yes. Am I back?
And you're back.
Because this doesn't normally happen. It's because we're doing a podcast is why, I'm sure.
Well, I think this is a great, sometimes challenges happen and we just keep going in life. I think there's a lesson to be learned here. Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
But anyway, back to my story. So art was my thing. I went to college as an art major. I'm not sure exactly what I was going to do with that major, but I just knew I loved it. So started my first year, and as a first year, you're 18 years old, you think you got it all figured out, and realized that that was not really what I wanted to do because I didn't know how I was going to make any money with it. So after my first year, and plus they made me go back to all the beginning art stuff, which I thought I knew it all. I didn't want to draw still life.
All right.
I
Well,
forget
it
what
seems,
she's talking about. That's one of the subjects that I hated the most in school. And I'm sorry for all the history lovers out there, but it's history. When I want to do something, I just want to know how to do it. I don't really want to know where it comes from. Well, I was like that. I'm not anymore, because with maturity, you also learn that it's important to know what you're doing, where it's coming from. But I totally get that. So Shelly, you didn't want to learn the full history of art.
Right. Yes. I wanted to move on to just what I enjoy doing. Um, so I pivoted from there, and I thought maybe I'd want to do business. And my reasoning behind business was because I thought I really liked to wear nice clothes and I'd want to dress up every day and go to the office. And then when I actually started getting into it, I realized that was not what I wanted to do. And so I pivoted some more, and I've always been a helper. I love to help people. I love.
well, isn't it funny? This is quite interesting. We haven't had this. I think this is just a test of, true, what is it, diligence? But I think it's really interesting about.
It's a test to us to see if we can fill in the blanks.
Ooh, fill in the blanks. Maybe that'll be the name of the podcast today. So
Fill in the blank.
yeah. All right. So as she's talking about going, isn't that funny how we make decisions and why we make decisions? And she was sharing about, going into being in an office because she liked to dress that way, or thought that she liked to dress that way. And I think that's the beauty of being young. I think and I also think that we should be able to feel free, even when we're older and have kids and have financial responsibilities, sometimes to make decisions just because it's something what someone else would consider frivolous. So yeah, Shelly, back to you.
Yeah. So anyway, I pivoted again, and I learned about occupational therapy. I had never even heard of this career at all, but my sister's roommate, my older sister, was going into that field. And so I learned a little more about it. And I thought, it's helping. It's in the realm of fitness, exercise, recovering from injuries. And so I just kind of went with it, and I enjoyed it. I started out really in the rehab part of it, as far as people recovering from injuries, from hand injuries to shoulder injuries to, someone who's had a stroke. And I did that for several years, and then pivoted more towards pediatrics and did special ed. That was kind of what I've been doing for about the last 10 years. So that it was interesting. Within that career, I can kind of look back at over the last 25 years, how many times I've pivoted, even in that, one career, and things that I never would have thought that I would do, as far as, going from art to working in special ed, are completely different fields.
So tell us, and I love that part of your story, because, sometimes you can see a theme in people's lives. And I think the theme that I know of you, and when you kind of hit that place of how you really loved what it is you were doing with rehab, was that you loved helping people. I think when you find the essence, sometimes it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like I always say, I was the happiest cocktail waitress because I was in service. Right? Not because I was drinking all the drinks. I know Caroline probably think, well, if I was serving Caroline, we'd probably be doing shooters together. But it was because I was in service, but I didn't realize later, until I got into holistic medicine, that it was the same part of me, just a different job title. And knowing how I know of you now, right? And then you got to a place where tell us how you ended up where you ended up and marrying who you ended up marrying.
So yes, this is interesting. So my first job out of college, which was in 1995, the traveling therapies was real. It was a big industry. And so living in Wisconsin, I signed a 1-year contract with a company that the intention was to move me to several different states, and I'd work a short time in one state and then a short time in another state. And I thought it'd be a way for a girl who grew up in Wisconsin in a little town to see a lot of our country. So I accepted the contract, and my first job placement was in Illinois, and it was cold and snowy, and I didn't like it. And so after my 10 weeks was up there, they called me and they said, "Would you like to go to St. Simon's Island, Georgia?" Well, I had never I didn't even realize that Georgia had a coast, because I thought Atlanta. I never, realized. So I said, definitely. And they moved me here. I was only supposed to be here for 10 weeks, but I really liked it. I liked the facility I was working at. I liked the people that I met. And then right before my contract ended, I'd actually accepted a job back in Wisconsin, and I was going to be working at actually in a school system back in Wisconsin. And I met my now husband about 2 weeks before I was supposed to move back. So I feel like that was definitely a God intervention, because so I ended my contract, or I finished my contract with the traveling company, and I took a job at the local hospital in Glenn County. And that was, let's see, Brooks and I we just celebrated our 22nd wedding anniversary. So it's kind of neat how that worked out. So I've been here ever since. We now have 3 children. And the funny thing about it too is I've got 2 sisters. We all grew up in Wisconsin together, and both of my sisters have visited us on St. Simon's many times, and they really liked it too. And they thought, they were both in positions years ago where they were going to transition to different parts of the country. And so they came to visit me for a while, and they were only going to stay for a short amount of time. Well, my older sister decided to stay. So her and her husband decided to stay, and they have their 2 kids here. And then my younger sister came, and she was going to only be here for about 10 weeks, but she met another Southern boy. And so she married him. And now both of my sisters are in the same little town as me, in Georgia. So it's really fun how that worked out.
Side subject here. Does it take 10 weeks in a town to meet the love of your life?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Actually, it was 10 months. I was here for 10 months.
Oh, well, I don't know that time.
Extended. Yeah, I may have messed that up. I kept extending my contract. But yes, 10 months for me, that was perfect, wasn't it?
Okay, no, I thought it was 10 weeks. So I thought, I could manage that, but not 10 months. I can't manage that. But, it's so cool, though, because I find that's the beauty about following your instinct and following, the moment, is that you have to trust the universe. It's bringing you exactly where you need to be. Like, I'm sure in Wisconsin, you didn't think that the love of your life was in Georgia. Like when you were little, you were probably not like, I want to marry a prince from Georgia. We never know. And we always think we'll meet them anyway, different. So you really followed your instinct through everything, and it kept you and put you in places that you needed to be. But tell us how, you went from occupational therapist to now pivoting to your business.
Yes. So I have, throughout my career as an occupational therapist, I've always been real into fitness, and I've always been a helper. I've always wanted to help people. It's always just been a passion of mine, but I've always been intrigued with being able to set my own schedule. And, in the fitness world, when you're training people and you're teaching, you can kind of set your own schedule. And I guess also being in that same sphere is with helping people, I've always been into educating. And I kind of fell into the world of online sales because I was introduced to several products that would help the people that I was training. And so little by little, I would learn more about different products, and I would share them because I wanted to help. I always wanted to help. How can I make someone's life better? And then as my world evolved, and I've had my children, and they've grown older. So my son just left for college, and then my daughters are 13 and 10. And as they are getting older, I'm finding that I have a lot of passion to be home with them. I want to work my schedule around what they're doing. I want to be a present parent. I want, to pick them up from school. I want to know their their friends. And so with the whole the online sales, it just it works for my lifestyle. Works for, I think the biggest thing for me is time freedom. I just want to be able to plan my schedule, but also I can help people. I can help them feel better. I can help them with my products, but I also can help them, earn extra income. But I can do it all around my family. So I think and I never thought in a million years, if someone would have said, Shelly, you are going to go from art in Wisconsin to online sales in Georgia, I would have totally laughed at them. Because growing up, especially back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, there really was no such thing as online sales. And so to learn that that could actually be my income was not something that was ever in the big picture. So that's kind of how I fell into it.
So I have to ask you, because there's a lot of people that see themselves changing, whatever that looks like for them. And it sounds to me like you got to really hone in on one of the things that was the most important to you, and that was helping people. But how did you feel about it? Like, when people go from one to another, I know when I stepped into the world of entrepreneurship, it was a little shaky because, like you said, it wasn't something that we grew up with. I remember when I kind of broke away and started doing my own business, all of my colleagues, all of my circle, all of my friends were really more in the music scene. And I kind of broke out a little bit, and I felt like a little bit like they were going to just watch and see, a little bit of a science experiment. But so how did you convince yourself? How did you stay the course? Like, what is it that makes you inspired? Like, how did you work that out for yourself in your head?
Well, I think for me, it was gradual. And I think that that's what helped me. I mean, I kind of like tiptoed into the industry a little bit because I was so passionate about the products. I was passionate about the things that I was being introduced into. And then I have to say this whole world of entrepreneurship, it's really it's a world of self-development. And I feel like I have little by little learned so much. And the people that I've been surrounded with who have taught me about this industry and have taught me, just have built my confidence and, allowed me to learn what the whole thing is about, because I didn't have any idea. And, I always say, I tell my husband, I say, you go to school to learn a career, but then people kind of fall into entrepreneurship and you have to learn about that too. It's self-development. You have to learn about the industry. So I think for me, it was gradual. And that's how I, became confident in it is, this is my first year that I've not been working as a therapist, and I've been in the industry for several years. So it's been just a gradual process. And I really do think it was the people that I have met in this industry that have empowered me to be confident enough to step into it more.
I really like one thing you said here is when you said, people go to school to learn something. Like I did my bachelor's. So basically I did 2 years of college and 3 years of university. And the last year of university was really what I was studying in. All the others were courses and credits I needed, but I did it without asking any questions because that's what was required to have the paper at the end. When we fall into entrepreneurship, there's no paper needed. You don't need a diploma, you don't need a certificate. So a lot of time people will start. I'm saying that because I really like how you said you tiptoed in it and it was gradual, because a lot of people think when you come into online sales, direct sales, network marketing, name it, is that you should have success in your second month. Because your first month you should be looking around what's going on, and then boom, you should have success. And if it doesn't work within 2 to 3 months, you should leave because you failed. But it's so not that. The first years that we're in that business, it's really about learning. So it would be kind of a stage, you know, you go to school and then they make you work in a company to practice. But entrepreneurship is like you get both right away, and you need to be disciplined to learn all the lessons that are coming to you. But you also need to be patient and cognitive of the fact that you are learning. So congrats to you for sticking through, because, you know, one of the big reason why this industry has a bit of a bad stigma is because people are like, well, it doesn't work. But it's not meant to work. It's meant for you to work it. So what's your passion? I know what you're distributing, but tell us a bit about, you know, what makes you get up out of bed every single morning and continue and motivate yourself and discipline yourself and keep going?
Good question. So I think that, I'm a connector. I love to meet people. I love to learn about people. And I love to ask questions. And so I get excited about meeting people and introducing and serving. You know, I kind of consider myself a servant leader. I mean, I want to find a way that I can help someone. So within my connecting, you know, sometimes my opportunity is a good fit for someone. Sometimes it's not a good fit for them, but I can refer someone else, or I can help someone else. I can help them feel better about themselves. I can help them with a product. The industry that I've kind of fallen into is it's athleisure wear, and I'm in the fitness industry. Every day I get up and I put on my leggings and my sports bras and I exercise. I teach fitness classes, and then I come home and I take a shower and I put on more athleisure wear because it's comfortable. And so for me, it makes perfect sense. And I can share these products with other people. But just being able to share the industry with them, because I guess being a mom who wants to stay at home, I love to connect with other moms that could potentially do the same thing. And so I think it's almost like a hunt every single day. Like, who can I connect with today? Who can I maybe help change their life? Whether it be, just, give them some encouragement, give them a smile, show them an opportunity, introduce them to a great pair of leggings. I mean, I think that that's just what I like to do. But then also the fact that I can do it around my, children's schedule is like, it's not a Monday, like I used to dread, Sunday nights, because I'm like, oh, I have to get up and go to work on Monday. Well, it's not like that anymore, because I truly get to get up, help my family get off to school, exercise, which I love, and then meet people. And then pick my children up from school, have dinner together. And it's a win-win for me. I just love every single day of it. And I'm really excited because this company that I'm with, I'm actually helping to build out the company. So that's really exciting, being on the ground floor of it, and seeing how the process of the stages that it takes to launch a company. And, the next thing we'll be doing is going global. And so it's fun for me because I'm learning, like I said, I always love to learn. So I'm learning how that works.
It's so interesting, right? Congratulations, by the way. It's quite a journey, and I know you personally, so I know that what it's taken to kind of get to where you are. And we were talking kind of all before we kind of came on air, and all three of us happen to be, in the same industry. All three of us happen to have children. All three of us happen to have a theme of, it's very interesting. So, when I was younger, I talked about how a lot of the times people will have like the most amazing experience in their early years, and they're like, I want to duplicate this for my future family, right? And I'm, we happen to be women talking here, so it's talking like, as a mom, I want, or there could have been things like, for me, finances were, super tight. I always say we had wieners and beans on Saturday night, but there was no wieners. And so one of the things for me is like, what I wanted to do is there was parts that I wanted to keep that I loved about my family, like our doors open, shirt off your back. If we have a floor on the place and someone needs to sleep, that's the deal. But the other thing is I wanted my children to have a different life in terms of finances. And I know that we kind of all talked about that. And Caroline mentioned how different it is for our kids, because all three of us have children that are watching us be entrepreneurs, maybe not always have been entrepreneurs. I don't think my son's seen me be anything else, but, and what kind of experience that they're having. So for you, you know, maybe sharing, Caroline, you know, maybe let's open up conversation a little bit. Like, what is it you think our next generation, you know, what is this, where is this going to take our next generation? I see Caroline's ready to chat. So Caroline, other than our kids thinking that we're crazy and that we're a never ending ATM, you know, I think GTM, just go to mom, money comes out.
No, there's that new technology that my youngest has my credit card on her phone.
Aye, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
So when we go out, she's like, it's okay, I'll pay. And I'm like, you funny chick. Did you know there's a bill coming at the end of the month with that?
Yeah.
No, but what I like that you said, you know, first of all, you say, I don't know if my son remembers me being anything else. I'm going to say for having a 20 and a 22-year-old, they don't remember anything before 10. So, you know, they remember the last few years. But what I was saying before is that, you know, we were raised to be successful, go to school, you know, get a diploma, get a title, and find a stable job, then stay 40 years in it, and then retire. Basically, that was the definition of success. And then within that, you get married, and then you have your kids, and you pass on the same things. But I look at my kids now, my 20 and my 22 years old. They, you know, when I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow older? Well, first of all, I try to tell them they are older, so they should know, you know, now you're at the point. But I mean, they really, like my 20-year-old is really flowing with life, and she's going in the direction that the wind is pushing her. And honestly, for me, my goal is for her to be happy. So if she's happy, that's perfect, happy, healthy. But they don't have the same concerns that we used to have. They don't look at the future like, I need to find a career where I'll stay 40 years, or I need a title. And us, I remember I was, you know, I started kindergarten at 4 instead of 5. So I entered college. I was 15. I was studying to become a cop, imagine. And I just turned 16 after. But isn't that young to make your life decision? Well, now it seems like we're not well, I'm not expecting that from my kids. And I know that a lot of people are not expecting that anymore, because now we're like, until they're 20, 25, it's okay, they will find themselves. But like, what about you, Shelly? Do your kids, like your older son who's going in college, does he know exactly where he's going and what he's going to do, or he followed the course of going to college after?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because, you know, with me falling into the entrepreneurship, my husband also owns his own business. And we've always tried to teach our children that it doesn't matter. We want you to be happy, but we want you to have a career that you can provide, you know, financially provide for yourself, and time is the biggest thing that we want to teach our children, that you can make enough money that you can have time to enjoy what you like to do. So we've told our son's name is JT. We said, JT, if you don't want to go to college, you don't have to go to college, but you need to have a way that you can make a living, whether it be, you know, we've looked at flight schools, you know, we said, whether you want to be an electrician, whether you want to be a plumber, we don't care, whatever, we want you to have a skill so that you can make money, but then you can also have time that you can enjoy that money that you make. And so he is in school right now, and we told him it's okay to change his major. He's actually going into computer science right now, because he said, you know, he wants to leave school with a career, with a job, something that he knows.
Oh, so I think we're having our next technical difficulty. So JT is obviously allowed to, you know, explore. And I think that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to have children that are.
I will actually throw you the question, Deb, because you have a very interesting situation, because I know what you're helping your son do. So what values did you push in them? I should say.
Yeah, what values? So I think interesting, because my work always fell in a little bit of the alternative therapies anyways. So my kids were exposed to a different way of business, like work that they never thought was possible. Because it was just emerging in the market, like health and wellness was emerging. My son's like, you're teaching meditation, what? So, you know, it's interesting. I think when my son sat me down really in the living room 2 years ago, and told me that he wanted to be an entrepreneur. Here's the interesting thing that happened for me. I heard my voice and I heard my mom's. I heard my voice and I heard my mom's. My mom's was like, are you out of your mind? Mine was, so I said to him, entrepreneurship may not necessarily be the easiest way. You've watched what I've done. You know what it takes. Going to work is, and so I explained going to work for somebody, because he wants to go to Foot Locker, Adidas. It's this, but when you do this, it's this. And he's like, yeah. And for him, there was no question, no beat. And then I really heard my mom's voice, because I said to him, okay, so, Caroline knows I'm a big reverse engineer. I'm like, okay, so what do you want to make financially in your first year? And then we break it down from there. And I'm going to tell you straight up. I go, first year of business, what do you want to make? I'm thinking, honestly, the kid's like 15, turning 16. He goes, $1 million. And so I thought, okay, is he talking to me as a 4-year-old, or is he talking to me as a 15-year-old? And I had to do this. I had to put my hand over my mouth, because I realized he's living in a different generation. And I said, okay, if you want to make $1 million in your first year, then this is the path that we need to back it up. And so I didn't want to burst his economic bubble and expansion, because I knew he would learn organically anyways what that looks like. And I can tell you that we're in another stage of his business, and he has not yet hit that $1 million. And he's really learning the lessons of an entrepreneurship. But as someone who's made their way in entrepreneurship, I think I had the same concern, Shelly, that you did when you sent your son off to college. And it was like, I want you to be happy, but I also want you to learn that whatever you do, you need to be able to stand on your own financially, right? Whatever you need. And my daughter started off very entrepreneurial, then went into a corporate job and soared to the top. And that girl was as corporate as I was entrepreneurial, and she loved it. And I was like, whoa, look at corporate girl, So yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. I want to create a club for parents that are raising teenpreneurs, because I need the support. I need the support group. anyways. So Shelly, I think you're back with us. Hopefully you're back with us there. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's bring this to a head, where Shelly is now part of a book project. And I see she's we're having some Georgia technology. Maybe they're having a storm or a wind there or something.
We are. Am I back on now?
Yeah, you're back on. So
it's one of the wonderful things about living on an island is we do have these technical difficulties sometimes. So
okay.
But go ahead.
Here's the question that I wanted to bring it to, is that you are now an author in a book in a sector that you never thought you'd go in. And you are in a book that is 20 powerful women in network marketing tell all. Tell all meaning that you've had some experiences in your business that other people want and need to hear, so that they too can have the success that you're personally having. So talk a little bit about that. Obviously, I'm talking about the book that Carolyn and I, True That Media, produces. So we've gotten to get to know Shelly even a little more, a little deeper. But kind of tell us what that experience is like. And I know that your book is going to be available on Amazon very, very soon. And by the time this records, it actually will be on Amazon, and people can go and hear your actual story, which is a little different than what you shared today. So tell us about what that experience was like for you.
Oh, so it was fun, quite an honor. I'm very excited about this. I never thought in a million years I'd write a book, or a chapter in a book, and that I would never be included with these other 19 powerful women. But it was really
I'm filling in the blank for that. It was really amazing. I know that that's what she wants to say, because I read her chapter and Deborah did not yet. I have VIP section here. The one thing that I find that everyone comes back saying after writing their chapter, and you said it well, and it's actually a word that I learned when you said it, it was a cathartic experience. I was like, what's that word? I Googled it, and now I'm like, yeah, 100%, because you really have to go back And I think that whether you write the whole book or just a chapter, it's even harder to write a chapter because you need to limit yourself to a certain amount of words. But you really have to go back and do introspection and, relive a bit what happened. And it's cool to say, yeah, I had all these obstacles and I can clear them and now I have success. But going back through these obstacles and, thinking about it and writing about it, it's not that great and fun because you lived it. So you still go through it. What was your experience, Deb, writing your chapter?
Yeah, no, I think cathartic was a perfect word for it. And I think that, first of all, it was harder than I thought. And I know that you know that. I thought it was harder than I thought. At first, I wrote too many words because I just thought I was supposed to put everything out. It made me, I think the difficult part was that I kind of, I'm a forward moving person. I think most of us are. We have these experiences and then we kind of put them behind. We learn our lessons and we move on. And when you go back in time, it actually kind of took me back emotionally a little bit. And so you have to work through like, wow, I really thought that, or wow, I really experienced that, or wow, that really threw me off course. Or when I was building my business through my marital status change, as I call it, or as I was having an experience with, just different things in life, it reminds you of your goalposts. And when it's all done, you feel amazing. When it's all done and you see it there and you read it there, it honestly took me a while. I actually read other people's stories in the book before I read mine. I don't know whether that's a thing about self-esteem or worthiness or deservedness or just being able to. I know I've always had a little bit of a challenge with that. I remember, even watching some of the podcasts that I had to get used to watching myself on screen, and I could be kind of critical a little bit of myself. But I think that it's one of the most rewarding things you can do is to actually be, if you have an opportunity to be a part of a book, or everyone says there's always a book inside you. I know that Caroline says the quote didn't come from her, but I heard it from her. So I give her credit. It was like, your story is somebody else's survival guide. Like someone reads your story and they're like, oh gosh, I'm not alone. That was a big piece for me in terms of reading. And I know for Shelly that she went through a really similar process. And as she started to come into completion, she felt like she came into her own. And, it was really difficult because when you use the word powerful, because of women and powerful, that's been had a positive connotation and a negative connotation. And sometimes it's been very difficult to women to own their success and see it in the word powerful, right? And a lot of times we forget about the impact that we have, or we judge ourselves or what have you. So I think having that word powerful has been a catalyst for people. It's challenging to get them past that word, and then when they get on the other side of it. So so I'm sure you guys are going to absolutely love Shelly's story. I think you can hear that she's super, super heart-centered. And I know that she's kind of, the Georgia winds have taken her off the interview right now. And I know
she's back.
Oh, she's back. Okay, awesome. Awesome. She's back. Yes. We've been talking all about you.
Yes.
Oh, well, good. I had to, I had to completely log off and log back on, and now my internet's letting me. But it's funny, I can hear it outside. It's really windy right now, so that must be the issue. So
I would still like to come and visit for 10 weeks, please.
Yeah. Caroline's on a quest. Well, we just actually was talking to our listeners about the process that we went through. And I know that you did as well, going into a book that says powerful, and going into a book where you go back in time and kind of relive your life a little bit and relive the experience a little bit. And so now that you're on the other end of it, because we really just talked a whole lot about you, don't you love it when people talk behind your back now because you're such a great person? They say good things instead of like, oh, look at how she did her hair in school. So you're obviously, you make impact on people. So now that you're past the process of writing the book, and you can share a little bit about that, now that you're on the other side, collaborating with this really amazing group of women that are going to be masterminding for being able to excel in all areas of our life, what does that feel like?
It's incredible. I mean, just to look back and see that this group of women that I can align with is just it's really neat. And I think because of this journey of the self-development journey, building my confidence, I think maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this. And I feel like I've come so far throughout this, learning process, coming into my own self as an entrepreneur. But it's just, I love to learn from these women. I love to learn from their experiences, and just it's just a really unique opportunity. I'm really excited about, and I know we'll get to spend the next year all together, learning from each other. So I'm super excited to see how this is going to impact my life even further.
Yes. Well, Shelly, we're coming to an end, and I really want to say a huge thank you for being here. You can send me your next 10 weeks that your house is available.
Yes.
But I want to say, being in this book, for me, it's like there's people in there that I was starstruck with, completely. And actually a lot of them, because it's all really, let's say it, powerful women. But then when you actually get to know them on a personal level, it's just amazing. It's amazing what we're getting out of this experience as well, as us as authors, but also I have people who read the first volume that were like, this was so inspiring. Like, it helps me get out of bed when I don't feel like it. And not necessarily people that are in network marketing. I have a friend who knew nothing about network marketing, and she came to the launch and she was just like, the synergy was just incredible. And I recommend your book to everyone. I'm like, great. But she's not even in the industry. So I think that as women, we really are also so good at getting together and collaborating. So thank you for being in the book. And I will let Deb close the show because that's her little thing. She wants to have the last word. But thank you so much, Shelly, for being on, and Deb.
You know what? I got to tell you, I got to interview Caroline not long ago. And you guys, if you haven't seen the interview, you got to go on to the podcast and interview. And so it was a very different. Anyways, I'll just leave it there. But yes, thank you, Shelly, so much for coming on. And I'm looking forward to, more, just more. That's the cool thing when you meet a woman. Sometimes you don't know where it's going to go. And I think when we first met, we didn't know where it's going to go. And when you guys get and read the book, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know who you're going to be drawn to. But that book is inspiring and motivating. And you know what? For me, one of my goals is to get it into as many men as possible, because there are men in business that have women in their business, and we don't necessarily talk the same language, or we don't achieve the same goals the same way. And so I think if you are a man wanting to know how to have women in your business that are top income earners in their field, you got to read How We Think. So that being said, if you are a man or a woman and you do want to be in our next book, and you are in this industry, we are launching the men's very, very soon. You're going to be coming up. And then we're also doing one for couples. And these will be books that are going to be happening yearly. And so come talk to us now, whether you're ready or not, as well as if you think that you've got something to share. We would love to hear it. Look, this is a platform for entrepreneurs. This is a platform for lifepreneurs. And we want to really platform. That's mine and Caroline's goal, is to create a place where people can come and get to share what it is they do and how they get to do it. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear if you have any ideas or suggestions. So tap into us and send a message. And before we close, I would like, Shelly, if you can just share with everybody your social media handles on where to get a hold of you. There is going to be a bio with the show. You can click on and you can see and you can hear more. And her book will be sold on Amazon, called 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing Volume 2. You can get the ebook. You can also get the hardcover book or soft cover book. But where can people get a hold of you right here, right now?
So I am on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I use my name. It's Shelly Good. Schuster was my maiden name, but that's where you can find me. And again, I want to thank y'all for having me on your show. And I hope everyone can get around the technical difficulties. And I actually look forward to going back and listening to it so I can hear the wonderful things y'all said about me.
That's a great way to end the show. Okay, everybody, you know how to get a hold of Shelly. Please do. Thank you so much for being listeners. We appreciate and love on you. And as they would say in the South, so we're just going to love on you. And there you go, Caroline. I think Caroline should start the next show with a French Southern accent. So you're going to have to tune in to hear that. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you.